An absolute blinder. Incredible!
Is all words used that Murray would use to describe Sebastian Vettel and his incredible race and lead in the championship that he has at this point in the season. Welcome, Fabio.
Yeah, welcome.
I bet you're creaming your pants at that race.
There you go. Sorry, say what? I had the YouTube thingy on, so I couldn't hear you very well.
YouTube, yeah. Well, we've all got to respect the JD. Yeah, so I'm just saying that you're probably making some kind of creamy soup in your pants about the race in Britain on Sunday.
I'm glad the last race of the season has ended, and and it was a good championship, well fought, and because the championship is over, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. I would just say that if the luck continues, right, if the Irish still support the red team by the end of the year, then I can't see it going any other way. Because if we can't win at Silverstone, then that doesn't lead well for Singapore. But anyway, what would you have to say about the race in general?
It was a very good race. Really, a lot of things happened. All in all, it was a very good race. I'm really glad we saw some very good overtakes, not on the pit, but on the actual track. I don't know. The people was fantastic. A lot of attendance. The circuit is fucking brilliant. There is no way around it. It allows for many trajectories. It's very good race. Really, really very good race. I peed in my pants because I had the insane idea of going, to the toilet like 4 laps before the ending, just at the moment that Vettel overtook Bottas. So so that was a bit messy, but it was worth it. I think.
Worth it. Yeah. I see. Okay. It's always fun to watch the British Grand Prix. It was an excellent race by Ferrari. Their tactics were spot on all weekend. They set their car up to go fast in the straight line, knowing that they would have the speed to overtake. And that was a guess. That was a big guess on their part and a gamble, and it paid off. It paid off big time for them. So it was a well-earned victory for Ferrari.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. It was a big guess. They overall made a very good balance because regardless of the fact that they had set up the car in that way, they also had very good traction, which is it's not a given. If you want a very low aerodynamic car on the straights, you usually suffer in traction. That didn't happen. So overall it was a very good race.
Yeah, not so much. The Ferraris did seem to suffer at the front end with tyre wear.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about little rear traction coming off the corners. They had problems at the front end. Yeah, of course. But, you got to make some compromise and you got to gamble a little bit, as you said before, and, that paid off.
Right. So the other thing is I've heard that perhaps Ferrari's advantage lays somewhere in the MG UK, is it, in the turbo recovery?
I don't know. I know they made a lot of adjustments from last year. The system is a little bit different, and I think they found an advantage. I don't know if it's a separate one like the Mercedes has. I'm not really sure about it, but they surely made some really good improvements. They also changed the way that the batteries behave.
Yeah.
So that causes some controversy 2 or 3 races ago. Even in Monaco, FIA at the beginning they wanted Ferrari to install some new sensors because they were not really sure if it was working according to the rules.
Yeah.
But then they got new data and say no, it's working the way it's supposed to be. I mean, it's, you know very well. I mean, when you get to that point, the very small details, they make all the difference. And we're
Yeah.
talking about, you know, tenth of a second's difference. So yeah, it takes a lot
Yeah,
of
I think
work.
we might be talking about a little more than that, but
No, I'm, yeah, of course. I mean, in general, when you get
you're right.
when
It's small.
yeah, when you get to the top,
Hmm.
I mean, improvement is really, really hard. You know, it takes
Yeah,
a lot.
and to be clear, you know what I'm alluding to is that it's not that they get more power out of their engine; it's that
Mhm.
the energy recovery system allows them to drain up to the same amount of power more in a lap than Mercedes currently are able to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
So that's the
And that,
difference we're talking
no,
about.
no, you're right, and that's I think was the reason why FIA was puzzled at the beginning, because it looked like that they were draining more energy than it was allowed, but it's just a different way that is delivered. So they had, I mean, they
Yeah, different way it's
they went,
charged.
yeah, they went through really, really carefully, you know. But
For
yeah,
sure. And if they've managed to find some technological edge over Mercedes in the way they run their turbo,
yeah,
then hey, that's great. That's what Formula One innovation is all about, and
yeah.
it's for Mercedes
And,
to develop a robust system quickly.
no, and again, it's really good, you know, the fact that it's under the spotlight. So I mean, everything has got to be extremely clear for everybody. They many teams, you know, asked specifically to the FIA, for example, if the oil which is used in the turbo has got to be part of the oil which is in the engine, because they were afraid that Ferrari had a separate oil compartment exclusively for the turbo.
Yeah, I see.
And which, I mean, at the end of the day, that wasn't the case. But I can understand that people get really, you know, picky, and they want.
Oh yeah. Well, certainly if it's something like recharging, you just frozen up for me there, Fabio. But yeah, if it's something like recharging, which is, you know, relatively new in the regulations and the rules, then of course, you know, that's an area which a team could gain an advantage, and so they're all over it. You know, it sort of shows me that a few races ago, people realised that Ferrari had an advantage in this area, but weren't sure what it was, and so we're probably just guessing in the media to try and you know, call out some people.
No, there is also
narrow in on what it really is that their advantage really is. But if it's that they're deploying their 160 for longer during the lap, then that is a significant advantage. And unless Mercedes catch up quickly, then it's not luck.
And again, you know, I strongly, I'm really for people and, you know, other teams wanting to go at the bottom of it, of every aspect, you know, and that applies to every team towards every other team.
Indeed.
Also because it is a way, I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, it is one way where technology can move forward, you know. I mean, some other guy might have an idea, you don't really know what the idea is, but by, you know, requesting FIA to clarify, you can get an idea how they did that, so you can improve, you know, your engine or your, you know, your car in general, which is a good thing, you know. And I think you're muted.
Yes, it is absolutely a good thing. You're right. Okay, great. You know, moving on. Heartening to see that Kimi has taken up Vettel's driving style late into his career, admittedly, but it's heartening to see that he's becoming a world champion, like we know Kimi can be, by running in the back of Bottas.
Okay.
Hamilton. Beg pardon, Hamilton. Sorry, I thought it was Bottas because my mind was going back to Vettel, but no, this is Raikkonen, and obviously he's took out Hamilton.
Okay, first let me say that. Okay, I want to start backwards. Okay, I want to start with a serious note. Okay. I'm really happy that a lot of people cool the fuck down. because there were some things which were said after the race which were appalling by everybody, especially in Mercedes. Anyway, having said that, I'm glad you asked because I've got a video of a different angle of the accident. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you on my phone. So bear
Okay.
with me. Let's see if it works very well. But you know, it's a different angle of the accident with Raikkonen and Hamilton. See, I mean, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's Hamilton driving in the back of Raikkonen, right?
Yeah, that's what we were
In
talking
the pit
about,
lane.
isn't it? You were talking about the accident between Hamilton and Raikkonen.
That's right. Yes, I was.
Yeah, with the McLaren. Yeah, and yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shame, you know, that people can't properly. I wonder if we're just we're still in the you know, in the fucked up way. I wonder if that was deliberate or just incompetence. I mean, that kind of accident really makes me wonder. So yeah, but you know, people were good sports. Nobody got injured, and they took it like champs.
Yes, indeed. No, that's a good point. Everybody makes mistakes, and I do believe that Raikkonen made a mistake here.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything deliberate about it, but irony still struck me hard at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, I can't remember who said that. If you really think that someone, right? I mean, first of all, Raikkonen is actually fighting for the championship. There is also another thing I want to say before I forget, but I'll say later on. Raikkonen is fighting for the championship. And do you really think that someone wants to put, you know, his championship in jeopardy with something like that? I mean, that's not even stupid. It's astonishingly, you know, insane. And yeah, I mean, it's so unbelievable. I mean, I understand Hamilton at the end of the race being, you know, physically exhausted, you know, and all that, saying things that I'm sure he probably regretted.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that today he clarified all the things. I'm a little bit more disappointed, to be fair, with Toto Wolff and James Allison, and they both, you know, retracted what they said, but I'm way more disappointed in them because, I mean, drivers, it's one thing, you know, it's the heat of the moment, they risk their life, it's, you know, it's different. I understand that they can say stupid things, especially after the race. But as a team director, I mean,
yeah,
you're supposed, yeah.
It is kind of. Well, I mean, you know, it's gamesmanship in that respect, right? When the driver says it, it's gamesmanship. I think you're right in pointing out that when the team and the strategists at the team starts talking about drivers behaving that way, I think that is stepping over a line we don't really need.
No.
It's fair enough for the drivers to ramp it up. And if Hamilton wants to say, oh, you know, well, that's, you know, or if Hamilton wants to draw attention to the one of the world's best drivers can make that kind of mistake on a regular basis, you know, then that's great because that's just ramping up pressure and whatnot. And nobody takes it that seriously anyway. But, you know, it just seems to me that this championship is, you know, is worrying Mercedes much more than any other in the last 4 years. It's like they know they're in a real dark spot right now and they've got to fight hard and that anything will do.
Yeah, I mean, they should be.
But I agree with your point.
You talk about championship, and I agree with you. There is a good thing about our sport that you can go at any race with any flag and sit next to any other race fan with the flag of another driver and nothing happens. You can bring your children. You can bring, I mean, there is no shit like happens in football and stuff like that. We got to keep it that way. And the people in the sport have a huge responsibility. If you start talking shit And again, I understand the drivers, but if the team directors, which are supposed to be the uh, the icy ones, the ones which see everything from a different perspective, start behaving like that, that's really, really bad for the sport. I don't even care that that some people said some really stupid things. I'm worried for the sport. They shouldn't be doing that. That's really bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a point to it if it's something like the Grosjean incident at Barcelona, right? There's a point to where it's dangerous driving. But again, you couldn't say that was dangerous. That at worst, that was just reckless, and that's nothing that a Grand Prix driver isn't used to. So again, I don't mind veiled phrases from the teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, we wouldn't want to employ a driver that did that on a regular basis.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. That's cool, but to point out somebody that is already a world champion as a bad driver, I just don't think that's particularly.
Yeah, I mean, there is also the fact of having a lot of respect, to the people. I think Jacques Villeneuve told it at Italian Sky. Especially when the thing that James Allison said, which was retweeted and rehashed by Toto Wolff, which later said that he was joking. That was kind of funny. But Jacques Villeneuve said it better. He said, listen, James Allison, I mean, he doesn't know. I mean, he's in the sport, but he doesn't know shit about driving. He doesn't even know what the fuck a driver's helmet is. Besides the one he puts when he drives go-kart. And he really thinks that he can step up and judge someone like Raikkonen. That's so preposterous. It's not even funny anymore. So yeah.
I would tend to agree with that. Indeed, it's a shame that Kimi. Well, I mean, in some ways, it's good that Hamilton managed to recover to second place.
Yes.
And if Kimi keeps driving into the back of Hamilton, I think we can then now. In future, we could start attributing some kind of motive, I think. But on one incident, it's just
listen. If Kimi manages to repeat that constantly, we should give him the championship, because if you are so good that you can crash on purpose on a driver, make him spin and have no damage on your car and finish third. You are the fucking world champion. I don't care if you're not faster than the other guy, but you are the fucking world champion.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It would be quite something. But I do believe that those drivers can do that kind of thing. I would also remember Rosberg on Hamilton a while back. But anyway, that's another thing altogether. Okay, so one thing to mention is through it all. Hamilton did do a blinding recovery drive with some incredible laps in the middle. Yes. They were to no avail, of course, other than to save him some points. I did like Vettelton's sly comment to that effect, almost chiding Lewis for being fast in the middle sector, in the middle stint, which I thought was quite funny. But nonetheless, that's cool. So yeah, I mean. Whether it was a tactical mistake not to pit Hamilton, I'm not sure about that. It probably wasn't, but it was definitely a tactical mistake not to pit Bottas. So again, Mercedes made mistakes again, and that's very disappointing.
I tend to disagree a little bit. I think in hindsight you're right, but at the moment I don't think, contrary to. I mean, most of the people that I've heard, I don't think Mercedes made a mistake. They kept, as far as I remember, they kept Hamilton out because he basically had fresh tires. And they kept Bottas out because I think in their mind, Bottas was supposed to be doing what he did in the last laps, but a little bit more efficiently. He was supposed to be the one slowing down, the two Ferraris. So I think that's what they were planning. And I can't really blame them for that. I mean, if they pitted Bottas would have been out of out of the game. You know, it would have been no help whatsoever to Hamilton, which was still going to recover anyway. So they needed all the help they could get in front of the race. I think that's my impression. So
okay. I would have rather had Bottas on fresh tires against those cars personally, but that's just another way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, admittedly, and it was a very close call this time, but I still feel they missed a trick there. But there you go.
Sorry, there is another point I want to raise a little bit about the accident. Not about the accident per se, but I think that it's a little bit worrying that there is some kind of inconsistency in when they give penalties to the drivers. Vettel got 5 seconds in what was that, in France, in Austria? What was that? In Austria. And Raikkonen got 10 seconds. That was the same accident. I think it was Sainz on who did he drove into? Hülkenberg or who the fuck did he drove into? Sainz.
Grosjean?
Yeah. That was the same accident and nothing happened. So I'm slightly worried that, when you don't have consistency in those kind of episodes, and that gets tricky, So that's the thing which I didn't like.
I wasn't too worried about that. I thought, generally they are pretty consistent. Whether it's 10 seconds or 5 seconds, it kind of depends on the situation and the track. So I don't think that's much of a difference.
No, but you see, there is a point. The thing is that if you read the rule book, it doesn't say anything about, for example, the result of the accident. It's not that, because I've heard some people saying, oh, they gave 5 seconds to Vettel because, it got damaged too and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I can understand that, but it's not in the rules.
No, that's right.
If you start making rules, and I get the spirit, okay, but you can't make rules on the spot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if an accident happens, you're penalising the accident. You're not penalising the result of the accident.
Right. Or you change the rules and you say, okay, we got to consider, the outcome of the accident.
Yeah,
fair enough.
And maybe we could in that instance. I mean, they could say you have a 5 second penalty and you fall behind the car that you crashed into.
Right.
No, I mean, that could easily be done.
Sense. But
but I don't see that as being a particularly, a good way to run it. Because it depends. It's on the crash. We're penalising drivers for bad driving.
Mm-hmm.
That's what should be done. And if they crash into someone in a particular way, then there is already set up a predetermined series of penalties.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what happens to the other car.
Right. But they have to be consistent. That's the thing which I was saying before. If you give 5 seconds to Vettel, you can't give 10 seconds to Raikkonen because it doesn't make any sense. That was basically the same accident. Sainz on that other dude, I can't remember for the sake of me, that was the same accident. I agree, they both went out, but that doesn't matter. I mean, there must be some kind of penalty. So it's these kind of things. Bear in mind, nothing was important in that instance, but it might be, and you can't leave that kind of freedom to the stewards, because they're going to take a big responsibility, and I don't think they should.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. That crash with Grosjean, although that seemed more 50-50, I have to say that with the Kimi on Hamilton. Clearly Kimi just fucked up. I mean, there's no he locked up his left front, and that was the accident right there.
Yeah.
With the Grosjean one, I feel it was slightly different in that, it's not that he locked up; it's that the tires gave way.
Yeah.
Right. So that was slightly different, but maybe I'm just picking out.
No, it's okay. I mean, we got the general idea. So
okay. So the tire wear on the Ferrari was quite amazing for me. I wasn't expecting that. and that does give me some hope for later in the seasons.
Yeah.
So that's quite good. The other thing I just mentioned is Verstappen and Kimi Raikkonen. What a fantastic race between the two of them. What would you say?
Yes, yes. That was a very good one. I was up until I saw the replay, I was under the impression that the duel between Verstappen and Raikkonen and the overtakes were way better than the one that Vettel did on Bottas. I changed my mind, for reasons, but that duel was amazing. It was really, really good by two drivers that they enjoy driving. They enjoy driving fast. They got an amazing control of the car. So that was really good.
Yeah, exactly, perfect to inch perfect.
Yes,
and hard as nails on both of them.
Yeah,
Kimi very, very forceful trying to get through, and Verstappen is more than determined trying to get past as well.
Oh yeah, totally.
So, absolutely brilliant. Stand out. I'm so impressed with Verstappen's driving in that instant, and it means he can do it. It's just a matter of and with Kimi, it means Kimi can drive that close to somebody else without driving into their rear wheel and causing them to spin to the back of the field on the first or the third corner, which is nice to know. Okay, so the last thing then really is congratulations to Vettel going to his home Grand Prix with, is it 18-point lead?
It's 8 points, yeah.
Is it 8 points or 18?
No, 8.
8. Oh, well, that's even better. I'd written 18 here, and I was all depressed, thinking, that's all, the whole race. It's only 8 points. Oh, fucking! That is a fantastic, brilliant recovery drive by Lewis Hamilton, future world champion this year.
Yeah, it was. It's only it's 8 points because Mercedes did what Ferrari didn't in Austria.
Yeah. Do we think that maybe they didn't pit Bottas in order to slow Vettel down to allow Hamilton to recover? Is that too much of a conspiracy, do you think?
No. That's exactly what I said before. That's exactly what I think, Mercedes had in mind when they did not pit Bottas. They needed someone ahead to slow down the other cars because Hamilton had to, to gain on them still. So that's exactly what I meant before.
Yeah, absolutely. So, brilliant. All in all, a fantastic British Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
And we made it through. We beat another team in the World Cup. So everything in England is absolutely rosy right now.
Yeah.
And only 8 points. I'm amazed and happy.
Yeah. See, you only need half a point to win the championship. So don't even need that sometimes. There was a. You were talking before about Raikkonen and Verstappen. There was an interesting thing which Raikkonen said at the end of the race. He said that he had. It was way more difficult for him when he was behind the Red Bull than when he was behind the Mercedes. He said that it seems to be that being behind the Mercedes was affecting the car way less than staying behind the Red Bulls, which I think it's interesting. It's
presumably down to the amount of drag that they have.
Yes, but it's a cool thing to think about. That explains why it seems to be that Raikkonen had some very big difficulties. Actually overtaking the Red Bull. That was quite strange because they had no speed at all. But
no speed is a relative term. Yeah.
Well, okay, relative to the other car, to the Ferrari and the Mercedes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one which is pissing on anything, but I would, okay, let's put it this way. I would be a little bit worried if I were a Mercedes because Hamilton rode like there was no tomorrow in order, to get back, on the podium.
Yeah.
And I think that he used a lot of of
engine,
red button or whatever the fuck they have.
Yeah.
So that might be an issue, for the following race. I mean, that engine was really, really, cold for duty.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't mind too much. If it's only 8 points, I think that's probably well worth it. It's not like it was in the first 2 races of the season where he used his engine up early and didn't get any extra points for it. Here, he made a recovery drive, which was worth it. So not too worried. Yeah. I'm more worried about the fact that maybe Ferrari have actually built the better car this year.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think it might be that way. But anyway, that's just my personal bollocks. You know, and if there is, I'm sure, you know, there's a reason for it. Murray, what would you say about, is there a reason or is there not a reason? This is the question we're going to ask. And I'm hoping my PC will load the right Wi-Fi quick enough to make the joke. No, obviously it's not going to. There we go. Thank you, Murray. That was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Over to you, Fabio. Any last words?
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, first of all, I'm sorry for Leclerc, you know, and the Sauber. You know, they made a very good race, you know, in Austria, and this time they had problems, you know, with the tire. It wasn't really well put, so they will pay a fine. They said it was a technical problem, but it was actually, you know, a wheel which was not, which was, you know, they had a problem at the pit, so it's, you know, a shame for them. And the other thing, I got to partially correct what I said last time when I said that Raikkonen was going to end the career. I still maintain that more than probably Leclerc will be the second driver in Ferrari next year, but Raikkonen might go to some other team. So that's the correction I want to make. Now, if we want to be really, really crazy, I leave you with this scenario. What if Toto goes and asks Raikkonen to go there instead of Bottas next year?
Wow. Well, that is definitely something to think about. If any of our viewers have any comments about that, please leave them and in the space below, and we will discuss them on the next episode. I'd like to thank everybody that has viewed. Thank you, Faith, if you're out there still watching. Thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate your support. And off on to Germany in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, which, by the way, I don't know if I'll make it because I'm leaving the 21st and I'll be back the 6th of August. So it might be a little bit difficult, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, well, we actually have an Italian stand-in for you, Fabio. So I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, his name is Fabiano. So that'll be a surprise for everybody next week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining. Say ciao, Fabio.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, Fabio. And we're out. Ish.
Not yet.
Kind of.
Kinda.
Ish. I pressed stop, honestly.
Yeah.